All right, today we're talking about an 80-year-old alliance that is being completely rewritten right before our very eyes. For decades, the partnership between the United States and Saudi Arabia has been a cornerstone of global energy and security. But you know what? The rules of that game are changing, and they're changing fast.
You see, for decades, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia had a pretty simple, unwritten deal: oil for security. It worked. But something fundamental has shifted, and it's being driven by brand new ambitions in Riyadh and a totally new global landscape. This shift, well, it's sending ripples all across the globe, and it's forcing Washington to navigate a very, very different reality.
And, maybe nothing signals just how much the rules have changed more than Saudi Arabia's surprising nuclear ambitions. This is a development that has arms control experts on some serious high alert.
Okay, so for decades, the absolute gold standard for U.S. nuclear cooperation has been simple. We'll help you with civilian nuclear power, but, and this is a big but, you have to agree not to enrich your own uranium. The whole point of that policy was to stop the spread of technology that could be used for nuclear weapons. So this potential deal with Saudi Arabia, it would be a huge break from all that precedent.
And believe me, the details here are everything. Uranium enrichment is what you call a dual-use technology. Yeah, it can produce fuel for a power plant, but if you enrich it to a much higher level, you've got the core of a bomb. The Saudi Crown Prince has been really explicit about this. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, he says, Saudi Arabia will follow. So, we're not just talking about a theoretical risk, it's a stated ambition.
To really get why this whole nuclear thing is such a shock to the system, we've got to rewind and look at the original pact the relationship was built on. It was never about shared values. It was a simple, straightforward bargain of oil for security. For more than 75 years, from that historic meeting on a U.S. warship in the Suez Canal, all the way to the sands of Desert Storm, this partnership was built on a really transactional agreement. The logic behind it was crystal clear, and it never really wavered.
So the crucial point is this: it was a deal anchored in cold, hard national interests. The U.S. needed a reliable supply of oil to power the entire global economy. And the Saudi monarchy, well, it was surrounded by threats and needed the world's most powerful military to guarantee its survival. It was pretty much that simple.
But that old pact, it's just not enough anymore. Under a new, super ambitious leader, Saudi Arabia has this radical plan for the future called Vision 2030, and it completely flips the kingdom's entire motivation from fear to pure ambition.
So the driving force here is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. You probably know him as MBS. And under him, Saudi foreign policy isn't driven by insecurity anymore. It is powered by ambition. His Vision 2030 plan, it's not just some economic blueprint. It's a complete strategic overhaul, designed to lock in the kingdom's place as a major 21st century power.
And this plan is, well, it's huge. It aims to remake nearly every single aspect of Saudi society and its place in the world, from how its own people work to who its most important global partners are. The goal is to move way beyond being just an oil producer and become a global hub for investment, technology, and, of course, influence. And the scale of this ambition is just staggering. The engine behind it is the Public Investment Fund, or PIF. And it's deploying close to $1 trillion into everything from futuristic cities in the desert to international sports leagues. So this isn't just some plan on paper. It is being funded on a truly colossal scale. All this ambition is fueling a brand new, much more assertive foreign policy. Instead of relying on a single security partner, Saudi Arabia is now playing all sides. So instead of putting all its eggs in Washington's basket, Riyadh is now strategically playing its relationships with all the major global powers off each other. It looks to the U.S. for that top-tier defense and AI, to China as its biggest oil customer and a new diplomatic player, and to Russia for cooperation in managing oil markets. It's a totally pragmatic, interest-driven approach. And this right here, this was a stunning diplomatic moment that sent a really clear message to the world. For decades, the U.S. was the go-to mediator in the Middle East. But when Saudi Arabia decided to cool things down with its arch-rival Iran, who did it turn to? Beijing, not Washington. That showed everyone the old rules are just out the window. Now, what's really fascinating here is how public sentiment has actually tracked this big strategic shift. A poll from the Washington Institute shows a huge jump in just 2 years in the number of Saudis who think the kingdom can't really rely on the U.S. anymore and should look to Russia and China. This really mirrors the official story being pushed by the government. So, what's next?
Well, the U.S. Saudi relationship isn't broken, not by a long shot, but it has been totally transformed. It's way more transactional now, and that's leading to a series of incredibly complex, high-stakes deals.
Right now, the two countries are intertwining themselves in the most advanced areas of technology and defense you can imagine. But let's be clear, this is a whole new kind of bargain. The Saudis are getting access to the crown jewels of American tech and military hardware, and in return, the U.S. is securing its role as a key partner in the kingdom's ambitious future.
So this is the new reality. It's a balancing act. On one hand, the U.S. gets a powerful partner to try and counter China's growing influence, plus a huge injection of cash into its economy. But on the other hand, it risks its most sensitive technology getting into the wrong hands and being tied to a partner who is absolutely laser-focused on its own national interests. Interests that might not always line up with America's.
When you step back and look at it, the Saudi pivot is basically a masterclass in how to navigate this new, multipolar world. It's a playbook for how influential nations can balance the great powers against each other to carve out their own path. And it leaves us with a really critical question. In this new era of global competition, who's going to be next?